Jeshtham Manumati Sachi Putramatra Swarupam Rupam Tasyagrajamurupurim Mathurim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaram Maho Radhika Madhavasam Prapto Yasya Prasita Kripaya Sri Guru Tanmatosmi Nindantam Pulakotkarena Vikasatani Paprasuna Chavim Prodvikritya Bhujadvayam Hari Hari Tyuchairvadantam Muhu Nrityantam Drutamasunir Jarachaya Iksinchantamurvi Talam Gayantam Nijaparshadai Haribritam Tam Gora Chandram Namaha Alibhih Paripalita Pravalita Ksanandamalokitaha Pratyasham Sumanah Phalodaya Vidosamodam Amodita Vrindaranya Bhuvi Prakasha Madhuraka Sarvati Sai Sriya Radha Madhavayo Pramodayatu Mam Ulalasa Kalpa Drumaha Radha Madhavayo Pramodayatu Mam Ullasa Kalpa Drumaha Jayati Jayati Radha Prema Sarai Ragadha Jayati Jayati Krishna Statra Sasvada Trishnas Jayati Jayati Vrindam Tat Sakinam Tvayaikyam Jayati Jayati Vrindakananam Tat Swadhama Jai Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Das Raghunath E Chai Gosaira Kari Charana Bandhan Jaite Vignana Shavishta Puran Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare My apologies for the lights. So I did listen to myself from yesterday's lecture, and I have to say it was quite dizzying, the amount of different things that were covered. So I just would like to, first of all, of course, I'm going to just start by offering my obeisances to Satyanarayana Das Maharaj. To whom we offer all the fruits. So, in yesterday's class, so what was going on in yesterday's class, that was quite there were quite a number of different things going on. So one of the things that was going on, of course, I am approaching the whole subject of the Priti Sandarbha using a number of different vantage points. So the most important thing is to try to understand Jiva Goswami's vantage point from what's he trying to say. But at the same time, we cannot separate ourselves from our critical mind. And so the critical mind is also coming in there and presenting alternative viewpoints for everything. And it demands that the intelligence come in and make a judgment, to make a decision on what is the correct and what is incorrect in the particular instance. At any rate, for me, I find it's useful to look at the historical point of view. So for a lot of people who might be listening, it might be something new. And so my very rapid summaries in yesterday's lecture, they were perhaps did not penetrate, let's say. So the idea is that can we use the historical point of view? So now I'm firmly of the position that you've got to do it, like it or not, right? If you're going to, all right, if this is worth protecting, let's get right down to some of the core issues here. If Gaudiya Vaishnavism is worth protecting, it has to be worth protecting on account of its truth value. If Gaudiya Vaishnavism has no truth value, well then what's the point of protecting it and keeping it? You go on to some higher truth. Just like Madhusudan Saraswati said, Krishna parat kimapi tattvam na jane. So when it was someone like Madhusudan Saraswati who could speak like that and say there's no truth higher than Krishna, or if there's no truth higher than Radha, and the other claims, that Radha Tattva is even above Krishna Tattva. Jai Jai Sri Radha, Jai Jai Sri Radha, Jai Jai Sri Radha. All right, so we have a historical point of view. The historical point of view, is it compatible? Is the historical point of view, can we call it truth? Well, the historical point of view is in a way a search for truth. It's an impossible search because it's one of those cases where you can never establish beyond a doubt that something was the cause of something else, or because every human, that in the past, there were human dramas that were going on and played out. And of course, a human drama means that there are conflicting forces. And so to say that it was one reason or another or whatever, yes, one reason finally won, a nefarious reason or a good reason, whatever. But we can't really know beyond the shadow of a doubt history. But let's say, for instance, if we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that X was in place Y during a time when a story tells us that he was in place B at that particular time. Situations, where there's conflicting information and certain evidence is considered stronger than other evidence. Right? This is a simple thing. If you find a letter dated X date with the stamp postmarked in such and such a place, and so on, then if you hear that he was in another place at the time, you have conflicting evidence, and one evidence, the material evidence, is more strong. So that's the way that historians also work. So in many cases like that, where you have conflicting information, like with Balabacharya and the Gaudiyas. He died the same year that Mahaprabhu died. They both had their lives were almost exactly parallel. Anyway, the point being, can one use a historical eye to examine the Gaudiya Vaishnava history and still come up with something that's worth preserving? Because generally speaking, what happens is that, the historians dig up the dirt, right? The historians dig up the dirt, the stuff that no one wants to be said, but there's this underlying rumor that's going on there, and you find corroborating evidence for the rumors. Or at least that the rumors, if the rumors are not true, at least that they're indications of some kind of animosity. Pretty nasty rumors going around there. All right, so I don't want to spend too much time. The idea is here that the historical method that we apply it, because I've been through the Western academic system and I got a PhD, and so this is what the kind of things that we learn to do there. We learn to look at texts and compare texts and to pass judgment on basic points about like which comes first, this one or that one, and so on and so forth. So now in Krishna Lila, so I started talking about this in yesterday's class, that there, because I did the Gopala Champu, right? So the Gopala Champu is a version of Krishna Lila. So there are previous versions of Krishna Lila. There's a Bhagavata version of Krishna Lila, then there's a Vishnu Purana version of Krishna Lila, and there's a Harivangsha version of Krishna Lila. So this is basic historical progression here. So if I look at one story, so these are cornerstone versions of Krishna Lila and Vishnu worship and Narayan worship. Now these three books form the mythological center of that whole Bhagavata school. This is really the Bhagavata is coming out of these previous texts. It's a continuation of that tradition with, as always, with a certain amount of revision and a certain amount of new light being shed on certain aspects of things. There's an evolution. This is something also that I'm really very strong about. I think that you can, and this is precisely why, because you see that everything is changing, right? For religious fundamentalists and literalists, they're stuck in a world where nothing moves. All right, that's okay. I have that nothing moves part is okay. We can come back to that. But the point is that there is a historical progression which runs through the centuries and through the geographical and historical fluctuations of the Indian subcontinent and produces in one corner of it Gaudiya Vaishnavism. It didn't come out of nowhere. Nothing comes of the historian says nothing comes from nothing, that nothing comes from nowhere, everything comes from somewhere. That there's a progression of everything, that everything is a continuation of the stream. It's you have to follow the stream of history and see how different things arise at their moment in time. when the time was right, when the situation was ripe, when everything ripened, then the moment came. It's really the same thing. They say the same thing in Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavatam. When the moment was ripe, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came. There were external reasons and internal reasons, but there he came. That was the moment for him to come and bring his revelation. So to study, history, really the history, you say, could be a challenge to examine that assumption. But somehow or other in cosmic history, it's very difficult to tell where the main currents lie. So we preoccupy ourselves, because we are Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we preoccupy ourselves with the history of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Where to place Gaudiya Vaishnavism in the cosmology of Indian religion, of Hinduism, historically and culturally and sociologically and psychologically also. Right, so history. So now that's the thing. So now understanding history. So please forgive me, because I think that it's important that I say some of these things, because I realize that as I give these talks, I'm going to start kind of using my own language based on my own idiosyncratic studies. But I have certain assumptions, and so these assumptions are coming from academia and not from the traditional Gaudiya Vaishnava world. So when I look at the scriptures, when I look at, I don't conflate Hari Vangsha, Vishnu Purana, and Srimad Bhagavatam, nor Jiva Goswami's Gopala Champu. These are, or we could even say, go as far as to say Priti Sandarbha, but that's something we'll discover as we go through the Priti Sandarbha. But there's an evolution. This is what I'm trying to get at. So I believe in evolution because I witness as a historian of this particular literature, whatever meager knowledge I have as a historian, whatever meager knowledge I have of the various data that go up to make the historical assumptions and so on that are related to Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So to understand it historically, I approach the material, from that point of view to the extent that I can. But at the same time, I am doing so with the investigative faith that the truth will be the best answer, right? Just like in Occam's razor. The truest thing will be the simplest thing ultimately. And so when you get into something like Gaudiya Vaishnava history or the history of the literature and so on like that, you start to, there are always things that become somewhat uncomfortable. That's why the things change. You see, this is the point I was also trying to make in another bit of research that I did on the Dan Keli Komedi and the introduction of certain themes. Certain themes that came into the Sanskrit literature of Rupa Goswami, which were from folk and other sources. So the stories that are coming, there was a popular literature of Chandidas and so on in Bengal at that time, and Rupa Goswami borrowed those themes and created his own literature, Dan Keli Komedi and so on. So the idea of evolution, the way that things evolve, there are certain things that contribute. Why is Chaitanya Vaishnavism there? Try to understand why did Chaitanya Vaishnavism suddenly become dominant there in Bengal. But we're not concerned with that particular part right now. I'm just simply making the case for history, making the case for examining things historically. making a case for examining things evolutionarily. By understanding things evolutionarily, we also make value judgments on certain things. And so those value judgments, if we say that something is good, and it was the result of this particular movement. Like you don't usually say about Nazism, but but certain things that there's reasons why these things happen in human society. And then you judge, was it a good thing? And not everyone agrees that it's a good thing. Not everyone agrees that Chaitanya was a good thing. They might not say it openly, but on the other hand, they might say that, well, look, what was the point of all this singing and dancing, right? Because of Chaitanya, Maharaj Pratraparudra became a weakling and started getting into Gopi Bhav and all this kind of stuff. He's a king, for God's sakes. Let him be a king. Let him defend against these enemies that are attacking from all the sides, instead of, watching Gita Govinda with the Devadasis. So this was what, and this is a theme an underlying theme of Orison history. Well, I'm interested here just now in this little segment here, so I probably, that most of what I just said was irrelevant. But the point basically here, in terms of the history of the Bhagavatam, and also in the, let's say, and the upper layer there, which is Jiva Goswami's interpretation of the Bhagavatam and his ultimate production of Gopala Champu at the top here. That's our crowning jewel there. That's the Gopala Champu. And all the way up, he's building up through the Priti Sandarbha. So with the Priti Sandarbha, we're doing that based on the Bhagavatam. But the Bhagavatam also comes from a tradition that starts with Harivangsha and comes to Vishnu Purana. So we're also interested in that particular aspect of things, historically speaking, because sometimes it makes a difference. There's a point that can be made from it. So the point that I was making from that, all right, is that we are looking for something. And the point that was being made was that in terms of the Syamantaka Mani story, there was something that was being that story was being told, and we have to find where Balaram gets angry. This is what he's saying, right? This is our basic starting point of this little segment here of the Priti Sandarbha, right? We were saying that, let's just see again. Right, so, okay, so this is really important. I'm going to just go through it quickly because we will get a chance again to speak of the Leelas because they're in the commentary, all right? So I went through a lot of Leela stuff yesterday, and I'd like to do a bit more of that. I thought it was quite interesting, and it suddenly got cut off, but that's okay because I'm just really, we're going to have more of that Syamantaka Lila coming up from the Babaji's commentary. So I'm leaving it for there. All right, so Tadevam, so he says that Tadevang Asyamantakopakyana Mahakala Puropakyana Mosalopakyana Ado Sri Baladeva Arjuna Naradadinam Krodhadya Veshopi Tad abhasa aiva leshe naiva tad abhasa tva leshe naiva sangamyetavyaha. So once again, what he's getting at basically is that the Leela Shakti is active. So Tatra Sri Baladeva Arjunadinam Sri Bhagavan Mata Jnanena Sri Naradadinam to touch Jnane Nevativi Beveka Kopita Muneshepur Bhagavan Mata Ko Vidaha. So the difference between them was that Baladeva and Arjuna, in their particular Leelas, namely the Arjuna one is going to Mahakalapura, and the Baladeva one is connected to the Syamantaka. So this was our problem here, right? The problem was that we didn't know, we couldn't find in the Bhagavatam, where is this Balaram getting angry? So if you can't find it in the Bhagavatam, well, the Goswamis had read the other Puranas also. There's some stuff in the Gopala Champu that's only in Harivangsha. He's taken from Harivangsha. It's not many, mostly it's directly from the Bhagavatam. But here and there, especially for the move from Gokula to Vrindavan, in this particular section, Jiva Goswami sort of quite draws on Harivangsha quite a bit. So it's not that the Goswamis were not aware of and did not incorporate. They read the Vaishnava Toshini. In Brihad Vaishnava Toshini, Sanatana Goswami is quoting all the relevant portions from the other Puranas, from Harivangsha and from Vishnu Purana. If it's not relevant, he doesn't put it in, but he certainly does quote it a lot. It's not that he's not aware. And he doesn't even mind, sometimes pointing out contradictions. All right. So now that's a Krodha abhasa. So now we move on, right? And so the point was that so now here, tasmat. Now this point here, this is now here really where we're getting to the moral of this story. We're going to be going over the stories again another time, but in the commentary. But right now, this is just doing the mool text and see what Jiva Goswami is saying. So it says, Tatsmat, Yesham lingantarena nishnata eva sakshat karo gamyate. So this is nishnata. So the word nishnata is usually used for graduation. Snata is having taken a bath. So nishnata means to have, taken a bath in something. So if you've taken a bath or taking a complete bath, so you've taken a complete bath in some kind of knowledge, that's nishnata. So he says here that yesham, tasmat yesham lingantarena nishnata eva sakshatkaro gamyate. So a nishnata, what's nishnata here is an adjective for sakshatkar. We're coming to a conclusion here for a lot of stuff that's been going on. The question has been, how do I tell if the sakshatkara is real? That's our context here. So where the problem was that if someone has seen Krishna, how can he engage in activities that are not commensurate with his status as a devotee? Well, then it is Leela Shakti. That's what he's saying. If you can establish by other signs, lingantarena, if you can establish by other symptoms, that such a person has actually genuinely seen Krishna. How can you do that? Well, that's something that you're going to have to learn about. But in such a case, if that's the case, then sometimes some activities that person might engage in which are contradictory. So we're getting back to the ancient problem of devotees doing stuff, bad stuff. What do I do? He's my guru, but he's doing bad things. So this can be the eternal problem and downfall of many a sadhaka. So here he's saying that if you can establish lingantarena, nishnata eva sakshatkaro gamyate. that this person has fully, it is understood, gamyate, that this person has nishnata sakshatkar, nishnata eva sakshatkar. That this person has actually been immersed in sakshatkar, in real sakshatkar. Lingantarena. So what are the lingantarena? Well, the lingantarena is, there's a packet of them. If someone has seen Krishna, then he'll certain behavior, certain symptoms will be revealed. He'll be empowered to communicate God's presence. He'll be a seat of that energy that Jiva Goswami has been talking about, right? That Krishna has an energy of self-revelation that becomes activated. It's his will. It becomes activated by his will, and his will is activated by Tad Bhakti Vishesha, by the devotee's particular bhakti. So that doesn't begin with the sadhaka, because the sadhaka still has to have that infused via the devotee. And that devotee infuses him with the seeds of a desire for bhakti. So, sakshatkara, nishnata eva sakshatkara. That the seeing of Krishna, if that is true, if the seeing of Krishna is true, then whatever else is there, that is an abhasa, krodhabhasa, vairabhasa. Even if it's in a story as difficult of comprehension as Jaya and Vijay. The anger and so on are there for the purpose of the story. They are not the reality. They are an abhasa. And if the devotee himself is not conscious of it, he himself becomes overwhelmed by this anger. You think, no, he's really angry. This is still the work of the Leela Shakti. So this is a rather, in terms of its meaning for us as devotees, there have been a number of things that have been said in this Anuched about suffering and so on, that in actual fact, the obstacles to our spiritual life, that these are actually God's mercy on us. Vipadak santutah shashwat tatra jagad guru bhavato darshanam yatsyat apunar bhava darshanam. Vipadaha kasantutah shashwat tatra jagad guru. Let there be problems in life. Because wherever there are problems in life, then we are obliged to think of you. We take shelter of you. And then we even see you. For Kunti and the Pandavas, that was the case. They could actually see Krishna as a part of the avatar. They were seeing Krishna during the avatar time. They were ones who really saw Krishna. They were close to Krishna. Arjuna says, forgive me for behaving with you as though you were my friend. And lying down with you, talking with you, joking with you, eating with you, going riding with you, fighting with you, all these different things, just like a brother I treated you. I didn't know your great glory. So how could Arjuna ever do anything wrong? Right? How could Arjuna fight with Krishna? How could Arjuna disagree with Krishna? How could Arjuna ever again think of Krishna in the same way? after seeing the universal form. So, but the point was that if you see by other characteristics, symptoms which indicate clearly that someone has had, by the very high standard of signs that you have of someone's being an actual, someone who has actually seen God, someone who has actually liberated, someone who's on that platform of bhakti liberation, Vaishnava liberation. What will be the symptoms of that? What are the lingantarena? How is there? Are there any pramanas? Is there anything that you can use to establish clearly that that is the case? Well, obviously, there's no science for that yet. maybe they'll figure out some science for that. I don't know. Maybe it will. Maybe the consciousness of someone who is a bhakti siddha, that does have some kind of a transformation in the physical apparatus of the material body. That there are points there are lobes in the brain that go all haywire and start flashing colors in the brain of someone who is God realized, who has actually seen Krishna, who is actually seeing Krishna, who like Narada Muni can call Krishna's name and have Krishna become present in his heart at any time. As soon as he starts singing, there Krishna is present within him. So, if that's such a person, so Narada Muni is a case in point. So he was angry, so he got angry with these stupid boys, right? I always wonder about this, how it is that they're still boys. Yeah, but anyway, it presents Samba and the others as just boys. Krishna's been there for a while. These guys are not just kids anymore. But let's say that they are foolish, and so they managed to put on this play. They tease the munis, the great saints and sages, the great legendary saints and sages of the Puranic period, Devala, Markandeya, all these Durvasa, all these big names, they're all present there. And so, but Narada is also there because he is the Devarshi, so he is the leader of them all, the leader of the pack. And so when they cursed the Yadus, then that was perhaps a fault. You might fault him for it. What's going on? Why is he getting angry with Krishna's sons for a little joke? What's your problem? Why you can't take a little joke? They're just kids. But no, he says he knew Krishna's will, and so because he knew Krishna's will, he cursed them, and he became angry. So it was inappropriate behavior. You don't do that. Kids, with saints, you don't go doing that. You don't go making jokes and teasing like that. Yeah, you might think it's a way of getting close to them, but no, it's not. Reverence is the way to go, my friends. So, that was the thing. So the point was, therefore, when realization of Bhagavan can be clearly recognized in someone by other signs, even if their heart may appear to be impure, okay, through some other sign, anger or whatever, then it is the impurity that is not real. So we get into the whole business of fault finding. That is why. That's why we say apichet suduracharo and all these other things. Because if someone has genuine vision of God, then any misdeed he may engage in will, in the course of time, be purified by his noble character. Now, that's not to say, of course, that the person doesn't have to accept the consequences of his actions. But in terms of hating the sin and loving the sinner, right, you have to be able to make the distinction. And you have to give credit. Sometimes that hurts a lot because every religion is thinking that their process. This is the whole thing with the Catholic Church and the child abuse scandals. Just keep praying, it'll go away. Just keep praying, keep saying your rosary, go to confession, follow the process. Surrender yourself to Jesus, to God. It'll go away. It'll go away. And it doesn't go away. It festers. Becomes a terrible, horrible thing. The corrupted faith of a representative of a religion. That's a very dangerous, dangerous thing. Destroys religion from within. All things require faith. And if religion requires faith, it requires faith in deep principles. And it's easy to get caught up in all the kinds of historical contradictions and the theological contradictions and so on and so forth that are always present. That the actual historical development is attempt to deal with and to let's say, make up for deficiencies. Hinduism had deficiencies. Vaishnavism is the response to the deficiencies that were there in Hinduism. And we shouldn't forget that. We should remember, we should keep that central to our understanding of Vaishnavism in relationship to the rest of the Hindu world. Of which we, of course, are a part. So let me go on here. So the first thing was that if you can recognize, if you can be confident that someone has seen Krishna. So this becomes a difficult problem, obviously. We're getting into morality here. Let's say a Gaudiya Vaishnava guru, you have Asharama, somebody else, one of these gurus, millions of followers, giving them money and wealth and riches and building ashrams, and then of course the requisite schools and hospitals and good deeds are going up left and right by Asharam's grace. And then you find out that he's a serial pedophile, using his educational institutions to harvest girls. All right, I speak that, I don't say this is but what is the position of someone who is a disciple? So it always follows the same pattern. Disciples divide themselves into two camps. You have the camp that will not disbelieve, will refuse to disbelieve the words of the Acharya. And the other ones who say, I have to believe my eyes and my ears. I cannot deny the evidence. And so it plays out in a familiar pattern. The two groups fight with each other. Usually one group goes away. The ones who are the most cynical go away. They abandon the ship. sometimes the entire faith, everything. And the ones who are a little bit, who are willing to accept the corruption that was there at the top, and who are willing to paper over that corruption, who don't want to face that corruption. They're the ones who remain in the position of power. And this kind of thing is going on. So, here we have the second thing, right? So the first one was that if you see by other symptoms that someone has actually seen Krishna, then you have to look upon his faults as being unreal. So now think of all the cases that are there. There was just a recent case that I'm thinking of right now. This happens on a regular basis as some guru is groping his young teenage disciples, either male or female. Is that appropriate? No. Can it be changed? Hope so, but I have my doubts, yeah? It seems that people who have these tendencies are quite persistent. How do we deal with that? So here he says, Yesham tu nagamyate vishayaveshadikam cha drishyate tesham sakshatkara abhasa eva nirnitam. Right? So now it comes to this, what is the sakshatkara abhasa? So the sakshatkara abhasa, that's when you cannot establish through other signs. So it's a kind of a weighing of the scale. On the one hand, you have the signs of the person's qualities that are only possible as a result of his having seen Krishna. And what does that mean? That having seen Krishna means that he can communicate that experience, that he is actually a carrier of Krishna's potency of self-revelation. Krishna wants to reveal himself. So he reveals himself through the particular bhakti of a devotee. And when that bhakti becomes powerful, then it has its power of influence, because Krishna's power of self-revelation is present within the Vaishnava. So now that's the lingantarena. The lingantarena, you want to look, where is the linga? So the linga means that that person has, by his bhakti vishesha, so he's communicating a bhakti vishesha. So now that bhakti vishesha, that means, of course, that it's not going to be rajasic or tamasic or even sattvic, but it's nirguna. We're not interested in the rajasic and tamasic features of religion. This is supposed to be a path of transcendence. It's a path where we're not looking for material happiness. We don't see that the happiness arises out of material benefit. The genuine happiness that resides somewhere else. So we're looking for that genuine place, that genuine place of human happiness and the happiness of human society, how to construct that. But we're not looking at that primarily. Our primary understanding is to recognize that we are not these human bodies, we are spiritual beings who exist in eternity. And that to return to that state, to actually realize or actually to embody that state, that is our, that is where we are going with all this. This is a process of transcendence. This is a process of recognition of the inevitability of death. The Bhagavatam is about a man who is going to die and wants to know what he's going to do with the few days that are left. It's this story. You know that you have 7 days left to live. What would you do? Well, I would try to get to the bottom of some of the questions of life that have been bugging me. So since death is inevitable, those questions that bug us, those are really the essence of life. So if we see that somebody has lost that power due to an attachment to sense objects, the opposite, a devotee will not be attached to sense objects because he's attached to Krishna, sense objects and Krishna. But someone who's going saying, no, no, the sense objects are Krishna, and indulges, right? But what has he seen? What has he seen of Krishna? This is the question that is to be asked. All right, so it's the sakshatkar abhasa, where the pendulum swings towards vishayasakti, to attachment to the sense objects. That's then we can understand that his claims to having seen God are not real. It's sakshatkar abhasa. Whereas in those who have genuine sakshatkara, nishnata eva sakshatkara, in their case, it is the sakshatkara that is real, and it is the krod, etc., abhasa, which is the abhasa. It's the other things that are the abhasa. So in terms of practical matters, in terms of the judging those people who are caught with their pants down or whatever, they'll want to come back chastened. But it's a very difficult position. I would rather be forgiving and hope that they're being paid sufficiently for their lack of self-control. But at the same time, I hope that they learn the lessons that are there and quickly get back to the path of pure bhakti. And that they become a source of inspiration, that their genuine self is revealed, that those things that they take credit for, that they become worthy of it. All right. Oh my, I have to go back here. What have I done? All right. So we're gonna, see here, so let me just. I'm sorry, something went wrong with the screen. All right, so this is a very short passage, really. We're not going to spend more time with it. All right, so this is the important point, is that therefore, when realization of Bhagavan can be clearly recognized in someone by other signs, even if their heart may appear to be impure, it is the impurity that is not real. But in the case of those in whom such realization is not clearly recognizable, and faults, such as absorption in sense pleasures, are seen in them, it is to be concluded that it is their realization that is only a semblance. So it's a preponderance of the one or the other. You can fool some of the people some of the time. But eventually, some of these cases, I forget the name, this was one, Ram Rahim, there's this fellow in Punjab who belongs to one of these Sant lineages. I think from the Beas, Radha Swami, if I'm not mistaken. So Radha Swami is pretty big in Punjab. And this fellow catered especially to the lower caste, the downtrodden, the Dalits. So they have Dalits in Punjab also. Not all of them are open-armed welcome into Sikhism. So he had several million disciples. A lot of money was coming his way. He started making films and having mistresses and so on, living the high life. He became he wanted to become a kind of a celebrity guru. A celebrity guru, someone who comes like a rock star on stage with fire and lightning. They put on a whole big show like the televangelists, the Christian evangelical televangelists. Oh boy. Put on a good show, friends. If a guru, you put on a good show. You get the people, knock them over. All right. So in the case, they're putting on a show. And then it's revealed that their attachment to sense gratification is really the real story. And that their attachment to that money, their attachment to that rich lifestyle that they get by palming off their religion on others. It's an amazing phenomenon, friends. So he's saying here to be on the watch out. Yeshang tu nagamyate. What's their power going to be? Are they creating bhakti? Are they transforming society with their good deeds and with their good teachings? Corruption, they say, starts at the top. So that's all sakshatkara abhasa. Stay away from those guys. Needless to say, you're better off if you have to choose between the two. Choose that person who is a Vaishnava and who, though he has flaws, that he repents of his flaws. That he is honest and repents. That it's not allowed to carry on. And those who are not. Well, now we're talking about sakshatkara. So this was actually our main subject here was sakshatkara abhasa. And sakshatkara abhasa was going back to these 4 kinds. So in the next section, we're going to get now about these 4 kinds of people who don't see Krishna, who have sakshatkara abhasa. So we're resuming the subject. We've been going off on a tangent here. So even Jiva Goswami does it. I'm not the only one. We have to come back to the basic thing. All right. So therefore, so here we come back to the point. So now again, we're coming to the end now of this 7th Anuched. Still got quite a bit to go. Nonetheless, here he's saying that yeshang utagam. So yeshang tanugamyate vishaya veshadikam cha drishyate tesham sakshatkara bhasa eveti nirnitam. So it has been ascertained that those in whom attachment to the sense objects overcomes or overwhelms or is stronger than the signs, the other symptoms that would reveal that he was actually pure, that he had actually seen Krishna. And of course, having seen Krishna, they should be free of all desire for the sense objects. Go right back to the beginning of this whole Anuched. And Tadadhama, where it's said that the Brajavasis, they'd given everything to Krishna. The Yadavas, and they'd given everything to Krishna. They had surrendered everything to Krishna. Krishna was their all in all. They had no other desires other than Krishna. So even if in those cases that we see something that might be determined as an aberration in that standard, nevertheless it's accepted that the Brajavasis have given everything to the love and service of Krishna. But those who are inimical, and then with all the other exceptions, that were made, that's they're sakshatkar abhasa. So in some cases, it's the abhasa lies in the offenses, and in some cases it lies in the sakshatkara itself. That's the basic point that's being made. Stay away from one, and if you stick with the other one. So now, tadevam aswacha chitteshu bahirmukhaha pashyantopi napashyanti iti uktam. So therefore it was said that amongst those who are unclean in mind, those who are bahirmukha, that they see, but they don't see. Pashyantopi na pashyanti. That even though they see, they do not see. All right, for this reason it has been said that even while looking at him, those whose minds are turned away from Bhagavan do not see him because of their unclean hearts. Well, I think I'm going to go back and look a bit again at that Bahirmukha, because Bahirmukha was earlier. We're talking about 4 kinds of people who don't see Krishna. That was the point, right? There's 4 kinds of people, so the first 2 were Bahirmukha. And of those Bahirmukha, the first were those who were Aswacha Chitta. The ones who still had some impurity. And then you had the other batch, they were the Avagyataraha, like Indra. Those were the 2 Bahirmukhas. And then there were the Dveshinaha. And so we're going to get the Dveshinaha after all this time. We've just been discussing the Bahirmukhas. And so now he's coming to the conclusion of the whole passage of Bahirmukha. So it's taken us several anucheds here to get to this, or several sub-anucheds to get to this point. So he's saying that the minds who are turned away, the ones who are Bahirmukhas, that they see him but they don't see him because of their minds which are impure. So let's go through the commentary by Babaji. Oh my God, the whole hour has already gone by. Well, I'm going to go through this because I don't want to have to do this again. So Sri Jiva Goswami gives 3 more examples of counterfeit anger. The first example is that of Baladeva, Krishna's elder brother, in connection with the story of the Syamantaka gem, a story which appears in Harivangsha, Vishnu Purana, and Bhagavata Purana. References are there. This gem originally belonged to Satrajit, who had received it from Suryadev, the sun god Vivasvan. Because it had great powers in bringing great wealth and auspiciousness to the kingdom, Krishna asked Satrajit to make a gift of it to King Ugrasena. But he did not comply with Krishna's request. One day, Satrajit's brother Prasenjit went to the forest on horseback wearing the gem. A lion killed him along with the horse and took the gem. The lion was in turn killed by Jambavan, who again took the gem and gave it as a plaything to his daughter. When Prasenjit did not return from the forest, Satrajit spread the rumor that Krishna had killed him out of greed for the gem. In order to clear his name, Krishna went to the forest accompanied by some of his relatives by following the horse's hoofprints. They found the dead bodies of Prasenjit and the horse and then traced the Jambavan to the latter's cave. Krishna left his relatives and friends at the entrance to the cave and went inside where Jambavan's daughter Jambavati and her nurse were present. When the nurse saw the stranger, she screamed. Jambavan came in haste and angrily attacked Krishna. Their duel went on without a break for 21 days until Jambavan came to the realization that he was fighting none other than Bhagavan himself, because no one else could give him such opposition. He surrendered to Krishna and offered him his daughter along with the gem. So this is, there's something missing here, and that's of course Balaram. So the actual fact is that in the stories, now I have to go back and do a little bit more research here because I'm strictly speaking from memory, and as I'm proving on a daily basis, my memory when I try to tell these stories, I go, oops, what happened there, and I don't remember it exactly as it was told. And especially also when you're watching three different still pictures, let's say you're looking at the Hari Vangsha picture, you're looking at the Vishnu Purana picture, and you're looking at the Bhagavata picture, and then you're looking at Jiva Goswami's picture, looking at it through his lenses. But here the story is that Balaram, so we're interested in Balaram because Balaram is the one who got angry, right? So now Balaram's actions are suspicious here because Balaram comes with the Yadavas, they accompany Krishna, but when Krishna comes to Jambavan's cave, then he says, I'm going in, you people stay outside here and wait for me. So Balaram and the others, they wait there for some time, but this is going on for 21 days with Jambavan. So rather than going into the cave, which we would think that the heroic way of behavior would be to go inside the cave, Balaram, rather than doing that, he and the other Yadavas, they go back to Dwarka. So somehow or another, Balaram has doubts about Krishna. That Krishna is in there making some kind of a deal with Jambavan. So of course Jambavan, when he comes out later on, but he comes to the gates and he finds that there's nobody there. They've all deserted him. And Balaram is gone. Don't know where the jewel is. Krishna's gone missing. That's quite the story to come back to Dwarka and tell everyone. So this is why the great drama about the Syamantaka jewel. So already here, Balaram, we get the impression, so why am I telling this story? Because Balaram doesn't come and openly express anger here. But it's clear that Balaram is somehow wavering in his faith towards Krishna. That Krishna really does want that Syamantaka Mani for himself. And so his behavior is a little odd, a little strange. He seems to be manipulative. Why is he not letting us come into the cave with him? Why is he going there? Why is it taking so long for him to come out? What's going on? And of course, when he comes out with a wife, Jambavati, who knows what this Jambavati looked like? She was the daughter of a bear. So he gave Jambavati as a bride and gave him the gem. So Krishna married Jambavati and gave the gem back to Satrajit. Satrajit felt embarrassed for maligning Krishna's name, and as an atonement, he also offered his daughter Satyabhama to Krishna in marriage along with the gem. So this gem is passing hands. So Satrajit has become penitent and has given the jewel back to Krishna and says, you take it, I don't want it. Here's my daughter. So he's doing just like Jambavan. Jambavan has done the right thing. So everything is fixed, everything's good now. The Syamantaka Mani. This is marvelous jewel which is coming into the Dwarka and doing so much good, and yet at the same time is wreaking so much havoc. It's causing all kinds of commotion in the court. People are picking factions. People's faith in the ruler, faith in the leader and Krishna is diminished. People are speaking badly or maligning him. The rot has entered into the Yadava court. The rot of doubt in Krishna. So Satrajit felt embarrassed at the whole issue that he had gone and blamed Krishna for something that Krishna was completely innocent of. And so he gave him his daughter in marriage. So here you get a bit of an idea of how people accumulated wives in the old days. Different kinds of marriage. So here the father gladly gives the marriage to the prince of the daughter. He has shown himself worthy through some heroism, right? This is all heroic rasa, virya rasa. Fighting with Jambavan, powerful bear, who killed the lion. Huh? And who had so little regard for the Syamantaka Muni, he just let his daughter, his child, play with it. A devotee of Rama. So not long afterwards, while Krishna was visiting the Pandavas in Hastinapur along with Balarama, Shatadhanva was incited by Acura and Kritavarma to kill Satrajit while he was asleep and steal the Syamantaka Mani. So Krishna gave back the Syamantaka Mani to Satrajit, who was allowed to be the keeper of the money. But after that, these other fellows, the reason for it was quite simply that they were lusting after her, Satyabhama. They thought she was a good-looking girl. And they wanted to marry her. So these others, even Acura, an older man, Kritavarma, they were angry with Satrajit because he gave his daughter in marriage to Krishna. So there's a case of Acura feeling envious of Krishna over a woman. What I like about this story, you see, and what makes me think that this story is somehow more true. Can you understand that? I would say, I think it's a question of some strange feeling that comes over you as a historian. And you look at something. For instance, in the Harivangsha, there's a story about the wolves. I wrote about this, it's on my blog there, about the deforestation that the cowherds were up to. They were deforesting in Gokula. And that was causing ecological upset. There were wolves that were coming and attacking. The wolves were coming because of the open space. They were coming in, and they were coming and even going so far as to steal babies. Wolves do that kind of thing, like the dingoes in Australia. To grab that baby as a legitimate piece of food. Anyway, so these stories, they somehow or another, they suddenly throw you outside of the mythological environment and into the world as it was being experienced by the writers and by the people who are living in that world. So there is, with regards to the historicity of Krishna, because of course that's a subject that's been going on for quite some time now. Of course, for the Hindus, it was important to try to find some historical truth in Krishna's activities, and so you do the same thing that the Christians did with Jesus, is you sort of sweep away all the miracles and just try to, anything that happens is going to be taken as miraculous, so that's not a problem. but the extraneous miracles we don't really need to get at the essence of the story, except that we know that the personality who is involved is considered to be empowered with special spiritual and material mystic powers. So in this particular case, there's some humanity which comes into the whole thing. That Krishna, and there were envious people in the court who plotted against him, who made trouble for him. So this is like a real kind of court intrigue. And what's interesting about it really is that in this court intrigue that Balaram becomes a kind of opposed to Krishna. And this is not the only time. You can remember there were other occasions when Balaram did not want to get involved. He was not particularly enthusiastic about the war at Kurukshetra. He didn't participate in that because he didn't want to pick sides. So he went on pilgrimage to South India instead. So that's a particular thread that is also here in this particular story, because the fact is that when Balaram parts from Krishna, then he goes to Mithila, and when he's in Mithila, the Vishnu Purana says explicitly that Duryodhan came and Balaram gave Duryodhan lessons in club fighting. So that Balaram was Duryodhan's guru for club fighting. So that was Duryodhan's area of expertise, and that was also Balaram's area of expertise. Okay? And that's why there was a relationship of affection between Balaram and Duryodhan. And that's why Balaram didn't want to get involved in the Kurukshetra war. But in Balaram, in the particular case of this story, that after Balaram has his argument with Krishna, as described in Harivangsha and Vishnu Purana, then he goes to Mithila, where after all these years, Janaka Raja is still living. Or maybe he's just another king called Janaka. But he goes there, and there Duryodhan meets him, and they spend the time in training and in club fighting. So, in other words, Balaram's dual loyalties, how are these playing out? This is something you read. You can write a historical novel, exploring in Balaram's attitude towards his younger brother, right? Krishna is his younger brother. And yet Krishna is the one who gets all the glory, right? So there's possibility of a little friction between the brothers in the beginning when they first triumphantly walk into Kamsa's arena to fight with the wrestlers. They come onto the international scene. They break onto the international scene. And the curtain rises on Krishna's Leela as the one who destroys Kamsa and who will destroy many other demons before he's finished in his Nara Leela. But then after that, sometimes they're fighting together and sometimes there's some friction between Krishna and Balaram. So what happened here? So not long afterwards, while Krishna was visiting the Pandavas in Hastinapur along with Balaram, Shatadanva was incited by Acura and Kritavarma to kill Satrajit while he was asleep and steal the Syamantaka Mani. When Krishna and Baladeva got the news, they returned to Dwarka. Shatadanva ran away, depositing the gem with Acura. Not knowing this, Krishna and Balaram chased Shatadanva and caught him near Mithila. Krishna killed Shatadanva but could not find the gem. So here was another case, not mentioned here, but in the story as it is told. Krishna told Balaram, you wait here, I'm going to go and check. I'll fight with him. So it was just like the story with Jambavan. So it repeated itself. Krishna said, Balaram, you stay here. wait for me, I'll take care of this. So Krishna became suspicious. The Balaram, became suspicious. He went there, he killed Shatadhanva, and then he came back and said, I couldn't find it. I searched his clothes, everything. He didn't have the gem. And then at that point, that's when Balaram actually gets angry. Right? So at this point, the divine brothers parted ways. Balaram went to see his friend Janaka, the king of Mithila, while Krishna returned to Dwarka. In the meantime, Acura had left Dwarka and gone to Kashi. Since the beneficial effects of the gem had suddenly become absent from the kingdom, Krishna could understand that Acura was the one who had the gem. He sent for him and Acura admitted everything. So he was guilty of inciting Shatadhanva to kill Satrajit. Not good. That's not good behavior on Acura's part. But Acura is given as an example now of someone. So Acura is a worse example than Balaram. So he sent for him and Acura admitted everything. At that time, Krishna said that even his brother Baladeva did not trust him in the matter of the Syamantaka jewel, so the Bhagavatam version. And so then Acura then turned it over to Krishna, who asked him to give it to Ugrasen. So there's no mention of Balaram's anger in the Bhagavatam version of the story, only the hint given above. But both Hari Vangsha and Vishnu Purana indicate that Baladeva was upset, thinking that Krishna had the gem and was keeping it for himself, or to give it to Satyabhama. So even the commentators in the Bhagavatam, they do mention this. And that is why he went to Mithila after the death of Shatadhanva. So here's the passage. Let me just read this passage. It's kind of cool. This is from Vishnu Purana. Vretaivasma bishatadhanur gatito na praptam Akila Jagat Sara Bhutam Tan Maharatratnam Syamantaka Iti Akarnya Od Bhuta Kopo Baladeva Vasudevam Aha. Let me read that again. Vrita Eva Asmabihi Kashatu Dhanur Bhatito Napraptam Akila Jagat Sara Bhutam Tan Maharatnam Aha. Syamantaka Iti akarnya udbhuta rukopo baladevo vasudevam aha. So when he heard this, when he heard Krishna say, when he heard Vasudeva say that all our efforts have been in vain, we killed Shatadhanu for nothing, he doesn't have this Syamantaka Mani, which is the essence of the entire universe. So this jewel, the Akila Jagat Sara Bhutam, this is how Krishna is talking about it. So he sounds like someone who's pretty attached. So when Balaram hears that, he gets angry. So now up to this point, Balaram hasn't been openly angry with Krishna, but now he is openly angry. So much trouble on account of this bloody Syamantaka Mani. People are dying. Our own folk, our own people are arguing amongst themselves, are killing each other. Blood is being spilt over this bloody Syamantaka Muni. And Krishna here seems to be a part of all of it. He's not serious about putting an end to this trouble. He's not taking his responsibility. He's also afflicted by a lust for this Jagat Sara Bhutam. Akhila Jagat Sara Bhutam Syamantaka Mani. So then what does Balaram say? Well, he says, Dik Tvam. So Dik is pretty strong. Really? Dik, I fie on you, a curse on you, shame on you. Dik Tvam. I'll have nothing to do with you. I can't tolerate this behavior. Diktam, diktvam. Yas tvam evam arthalipsur. Etatacha bratritvan maya kshantam tadayam pantaha swechaya gamyatam. Name Dwarkaya, Name Tvaya, Nachashesha Bandubhi Karyam, Alamalame Mam Agrato, Alika Shapataya, Iti Akshipya, Tat Katam, Katanchit, Prasadyamano, Pi Natatasto, Natasto. All right, so quite the speech. Dik Twam, Yas Twam Evam Arthalipsur, Etatacha Te Bratritvat, Mayak Shantam. So I've been watching you. You're greedy for money, you're greedy for this piece of rock. And because of it, I've been watching you. I'm your brother. I've been forgiving you. I've been letting it go. I haven't said anything. I've been following you around like this. Taking, trusting you. But this has gone too far now. I don't believe you anymore. Tadayam pantaha swechaya gamyatam. So take it, go. Follow your path. Do what you're doing. I don't know what it is that you're doing here, what you want to do with this, what your plan is here. But I am not going to be a part of it. So that's what you want, swechaya gamyatam. Follow it yourself. But me, na me dwarkaya, na tvaya, na chashesha bandhu bhikaryam. I've got nothing more to do with any of you. Not with you, not with Dwarka, not with any of these relatives and friends. I'm finished with you. I have nothing more to do with this crazy story of this Syamantaka Mani. Enough, I've had it. Mamagrato lika shapataya. Enough of these coming here and telling me, making all these promises and saying to me that it's not true, Krishna's coming there. It's not true, it's not true. And he says, enough of all these protestations. And so saying that, iti akshipya tata katam katanchit prasadyamano pi natatasto. So he didn't, even though, I think that should be katam, not katam, or akshipya tat katam. And anyway, Krishna tried to calm him, tried to please him, came and spoke nice words. But Balarama would have nothing of it, and he entered Videha Puram. So that's exactly what is stated in the Vishnu Purana. So Jiva Goswami, however, says that such a behavior of Baladeva is not real. Baladeva cannot turn against Krishna. He was playing a part in the story, which has the moral of showing that even a blameless person can be deserted by close friends and family when false accusations fly. So that's the meaning of the story. Balaram's anger is not real. He's playing a role. The second story is about Arjuna's disrespect towards Krishna and other Yadavas when they could not protect the newborn babies. This of a Brahmin in Dwarka. Is that right? Yes, well, okay. This story was discussed in Krishna Sandarbha, Untitled 29. Go check it out there. The third story is about the sages headed by Narada cursing Krishna's sons. This story is originally found in the Mosala Parva of the Mahabharata, but is also told more briefly in the Bhagavatam in the first chapter of the 11th canto. In all these stories, the anger or adverse mood of Baladeva, Arjuna, or Narada arose under the influence of the Leela Shakti for the sake of Krishna's divine play. Baladeva is the first expansion of Krishna. Arjuna is an intimate friend and devotee of Krishna. And Narada is a Bhakti Avesha avatar. There is no possibility of them having any adverse mood or behavior towards Krishna, just as our own bodily limbs do not act to damage our body. Sri Jiva Goswami gives a simple formula to detect such acts of Leela Shakti. He says that if one sees certain symptoms that ascertain the sakshatkara of Bhagavan in a person, then their impurity of heart in the form of anger or criticism should be seen as the action of the Leela Shakti and not real. On the contrary, if one sees that a person is absorbed in material pleasures and no symptoms manifest to infer the sakshatkara of Bhagavan, then even if they do experience some form of Bhagavan, it is not real but an abhasa. So it's not the true God that they are revealing. That's something that will come up again. So thus purity of heart and sakshatkar of Bhagavan go hand in hand. So that's our topic. We're getting more and more deeply into it. Let's stop here. Time has gone over liberally. And we will continue with this Anuchade of the Priti Sandarbha tomorrow.